The hearings for Ketanji Brown Jackson continue, and the media are just upset that anybody is asking questions at all. John Harwood over on CNN, he says that basically the Republicans, by asking her basic questions, they want her dead. So John Harwood tweeted out in idiotic fashion, quote, on ambitious GOP senators playing to the base with KBJ. Conservative National Review calls their attacks meritless. They know a disturbed man fantasizing about Dems and child sex trafficking fired an assault rifle in D.C. pizzeria in 2016. Political fun and games can get dangerous. And I can't even express how tired I am of this idea that if you engage in absolutely normal political conduct, you're going to get somebody killed. It's just a way for you to shut down normal political conduct. Of course, of course. If we use this logic, by the way, Bernie Sanders should shut his fat trap today, considering that one of his supporters tried to murder a bunch of Republican Congress people at a baseball game. That logic does not hold. Okay, Bernie Sanders gets to talk as much as he wants, to my consternation, because this is still a free country. That is a good thing. I'm annoyed that he's the one talking because he's an idiot, but he gets to talk, and that is a good thing for the country. But not for John Harwood. If you ask questions of Ketanji Brown Jackson like, what is a woman? And apparently you're going to now get her killed. Meanwhile, Whoopi Goldberg sounding off on this, one of our great sages, Whoopi Goldberg saying, if Republicans are so concerned about pedophilia and sex criminal sentencing, why don't they care about Brett Kavanaugh? The wisest among us here.
I feel like if they were so concerned about pedophilia and sex crimes, why didn't they want to hear the allegations against Brett Kavanaugh?
Because those allegations were false? Because there was no substantiating evidence to the allegations whatsoever? That would be why, Whoopi. But it's fun to watch the entire media rush to the defense of a woman who cannot answer what a woman is. So USA Today has an entire piece by a person named Alia Destager today called Marsha Blackburn asked Ketanji Brown Jackson to define woman. Science says there is no simple answer. Oh, really? Is that what science says? Truly, is that what science says? There's no simple answer to what is woman? Weird. Because, for example, I will note that archaeologists have literally dug up corpses of people like 2,500 years old, okay? And they can identify how this person lived. They can identify whether they were male or female. You can dig up the bones of humans, of Homo sapiens from thousands and thousands of years ago. And you can determine whether they are men or women without asking their gender. It's unbelievable. I know it's very difficult. You can, believe it or not, you can even do this with non-humans. You can do this with like seals. Like if you go to a mammal, you can tell whether it's a male or female. I know these are really difficult concepts for these people. Honestly, I cannot believe that anyone believes this stuff. They don't believe it. They're just liars. They're just liars because they wish to destroy the truth. Because if there is truth, an objective biological truth is a truth, then this means that there might be rules that naturally attach to those truths. Like that there are male and female roles in society, and those roles are not identical. Like there are different rules for males and females in, for example, athletics. And they might not like that. They might deny that all disparity equals discrimination. See, the basic truths that leftism is built on, all disparity is discrimination, that every human being is basically an identical widget, and that all problems between human beings are crafted by systems of injustice. All of those things are blown up completely by actual icebergs of reality. One of those icebergs of reality is that women and men exist. So they have two choices. Either they can adjust their viewpoint or they can just pretend that men and women don't exist. And so they've decided on the latter. And if you don't do it as well, then this means you're now anti the science. All these morons who spent the entire pandemic shouting, listen to the science, while triple masking their faces and duct taping their mouths and throwing masks on 2-year-olds. All these idiots are the same idiots who have decided now that you can't actually decide what a man or a woman is based on biology. You have to go to a sociologist to decide what a man or a woman is. Or you have a 6-year degree in bullshit. So here's what the USA Today says, okay? In the 13th hour of Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson's confirmation hearing on Tuesday, Senator Marsha Blackburn asked the Supreme Court nominee, can you provide a definition for the word woman? Jackson, appearing confused, responded, I'm not a biologist. So first of all, as I noted yesterday, once Ketanji Brown Jackson says, I'm not a biologist, the game is given away. Because if a biologist can determine what a man or a woman is, gender theory is nonsense. Because a biologist looks at, wait for it, biology. If you can determine biologically whether somebody is a man or a woman, which, by the way, you can, if you can do that, then all of the rest of this is nonsense. So even her answer gives away the game. But according to USA Today, no. It's really complex. It's super difficult to tell who's a man or a woman. Forget about the fact that human beings have been for several 100,000 years, correctly identifying the difference between men and women in such a productive way that human beings have been able to be born from that identification. Because if it turned out that human beings could not actually identify the difference between men and women, human reproduction would be extraordinarily difficult, as it turns out. If men and women looked exactly the same and had exactly the same functions, it would be really, really tough to reproduce. Because that is the definition of biological sex, by the way, is the size of the gamete. Is it large like an egg or is it small like a sperm? Yeah, this is not hard. It's amazing. It's amazing. But according to USA Today, it really is difficult. It's super difficult. Scientists, gender law scholars, and philosophers of biology say Jackson's response was commendable, though perhaps misleading. Commendable, though perhaps misleading. First of all, I have a question. Why are scientists and gender law scholars in the same category? I've never gone to a gender law scholar for anything productive, nor should you, because they are unproductive, professional, useless people. Gender law scholars. See, you go to a scientist when you want an answer verified through the scientific method. You go to a gender law scholar when you want somebody to lecture you about fat studies. It's useful, these experts say, that Jackson suggested science could help answer Blackburn's question, but they note a competent biologist would not be able to offer a definitive answer either. You never know. Scientists agree there is no sufficient way to clearly define what makes someone a woman. And with billions of women on the planet, there is much variation. Okay, I'm going to have to read that sentence real slowly to you from USA Today because it is so rich in self-contradiction. And we're going to read it slowly. You ready? Scientists agree there is no sufficient way to clearly define what makes someone a woman. And with billions of women on the planet, there is much variation. So, what I'm taking from the sentence is that there are billions of women on the planet, but also you can't define what a woman is. So how do you know there are billions of women on the planet? Explain. Seriously, explain. And you know what's hilarious about this particular question when you ask people on the left this question? They don't have an answer, but then they just scoff at the question. So I said at one point yesterday online, what is a woman? And somebody from MSNBC immediately wrote back, well, you would have to ask. Well, give me an answer. How about that? See, I know what a woman is, and I can describe exactly to you what a woman is. And I'm married to one, and we have 3 kids. And you know why we have 3 kids? Because she's a woman and I'm a dude. Like, that's how that worked. Really, really easy. But you can't define it. And so all you have is scoffing at the question that you can't answer. Rebecca Jordan Young, scientist and gender studies scholar at Barnard College. Woo-hoo-hoo. She says, I don't want to see this question punted to biology as if science can offer a simple, definitive answer. But it can. It can. Jordan Young said she sees Jackson's answer, particularly the second half, reflecting the necessity of nuance. While traditional notions of sex and gender suggest a simple binary, if you're born with a penis, you are male and identify as a man. And if you are born with a vagina, you are female and identify as a woman. The reality, gender experts say, is more complex. There's not one single biological answer to the definition of a woman. There's not even a single biological answer to the question of what is a female. There are at least 6 different biological markers of sex in the body: genitals, chromosomes, gonads, internal reproductive structures, hormone ratios, and secondary sex characteristics. None of the 6 is strictly dichotomous, and the different markers don't always align. Yes, but they are markers, are they not? And the vast majority of people, like nearly all of them, they do align. And you have no metric whereby non-alignment means that you are a member of a third sex or the other sex. So no, your definition is a fail. It is a fail. But we have to pretend not to see the truth so that we can make world-breaking change. As always, as always. How's this for a title? Ben Shapiro Show subscriber destroys like button with clicks and logic. I'd watch that. Make it happen, gang.